Hello everyone and welcome back to the studio here in Northumberland. Today I'm going to be painting with watercolour pencils. Watercolour pencils. And this is a photograph that I took a few months ago. It was just a quick snap on my telephone. And it doesn't look that appealing or that fancy, but I know that it will make a nice painting, especially with watercolour pencils, because they are so easy. So because I'm working from a photograph, it's time for the reading glasses. And the watercolour pencils that I'm using, Lyra watercolour pencils, which is, Lyra, Dale Rowney's all part of the same group, the Feeler group. And Lyra pencils, especially the watercolour pencils, I think they're absolutely fabulous. Good, strong colours. And I've pulled out a few here. These are the ones that I'm going to use today. And for the outline drawing, I'm going to use, it's called light cobalt blue, light cobalt. And it's not that one, it's that one. And it'll do nicely. And I'm going to do the outline drawing with this, but of course, because it's watercolour pencils, the minute the outline drawing is touched with water, it will just go, it will vanish. So it's not going to show as blue. I'm not going to press on very hard with this. I'm going to start with the outline of the building. Over the side of the chimney there. And the initial drawing is the most important bit. Afterwards, we're just going to fill it all in with colour. Coming through here, a bit of a roof there. Quite a long building, that one. There's another chimney. And as you can see, I'm not pressing on very hard with the pencil. That end there. And there's the roof line. Just seeing one little bit of the side of the pencil, of the building. Not that much of it. And the other end. And that's the outline of the building done. Very, very simple. Here, I've got a bushy tree. Like so. And on the building itself, 3 windows at the top. This one, oddly enough, has got a rounded top to it there. And another straight top there. Couple of windows here, which vanished there. They stop halfway down. Another one here. There's a conservatory there as well, at the front there. But I don't want that, don't like it. Like I say, change things. Make the drawing suit you, make the painting suit you. There isn't a window there, but I'm going to have one. Just because I can. Now I've got big bushy trees behind. And some poplar type trees. What are they called, Bear? What are they? Are they poplars?
Could be.
If Gail says it could be, then they probably are.
Tall trees.
She who shall be obeyed. Commonly known to her friends as the Queen of Darkness. A few more of them. And here's a big one. And we've got a hedge here going all the way across the front. Vanishes about there. Bit of a gap there to allow you into the front door. And wiggly bit there. Wiggly bit, that's a technical term for it. This tree needs extending a little bit. Now I've got a barn here. It's a bit of one. Easy peasy. And there's, if you look there, there's a barn. Then there's a bit of roof. I'm not going to put that in because I don't want that. But then there's a big barn. Like so. And this roof is sloping downwards. That line's sloping downwards ever so slightly. And the other end of the barn there. There. Simples. And we'll have another tree here, bushy bit. There's loads of clutter going down here. That's just mess. And yes, sometimes it's nice to have a bit of mess in there, but it's too much clutter for this. So I'm just going to finish that off like that. Chimney pots on there, but I'm not going to draw them. I'll just paint them in afterwards. And behind here, we've just got a bit of land behind. A tree there. Carry that on to there. And here you can see there's a track coming up to the farm, and make that into a path. A path. Like so. And here, just got field, which I shall just colour in. And that's it. Outline drawing done. Very, very simple. And you can see the stuff that I've missed out. Lots of clutter and messy, nasty bits, which I don't want. So I shall just put colour on that. Now, as you can see here, the building, the main building, it's almost it's a yellowy, creamy colour. And what I'm going to use for that is gold ochre. I'm just looking at the colours. I know what I want because you've got little kind of like swatches on the end of each pencil, but I just need to look to tell you what the colour is, and that one's gold ochre. And I'm pressing on very lightly here because I don't want the colour to be too strong. Watercolour pencils is like any other kind of pencil. The stronger the mark, the harder you press on. So with these, the stronger the colour, the harder you press on. If you want it very light in colour and tone, don't press on too hard. And you can see I'm just skipping over the surface of the paper with that. And the paper I'm using, Langton Rough, the paper I always use for my watercolours, and the paper I always use for my acrylics as well, when I'm painting acrylics on paper. Good sturdy paper, this one. Langton Rough. And it's £140 weight. It'll take all the abuse you can give it. Bit that, bit that. And that's the gold ochre. I'm going to have a little bit of that. No, change my mind on that. I'm going to have this one Van Dyke Brown. I'm going to go in on that side of the building there with that. Gail, when I say go close in, I don't mean rest on my arm.
You're standing on my wire.
I'm standing on your wire.
To move you off the wire.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, why don't you just do what you normally do, which is just push me out
I
of the way.
was pushing you.
Okay. Good Lord, woman!
I know. Abusing my wires.
No, let it be said that I've used your wires, Gail. You know, people just ring the office these days just to hear Gail's voice. She's a star of the internet, but she won't appear. Now, I'm just going to press on a little bit stronger there, look. A little bit harder. And that's the shadow side of the building. The light is going to be coming from the left in this. Now, with that same colour, I'm going to have a little bit of that there. And this is now just a case of colouring in. And afterwards, when I've got it all coloured in, I'll make it into a painting by adding water. A little bit of that Van Dyke brown as well, but much, much lighter there. A very light stroke on that, look. Ding dong, there. Now, a little bit of Venetian red, I think this one's called. Yep, Venetian red. Just to make that a red brick colour on top of the brown there. Simples. We'll have a little bit of that Venetian red there as well, just by itself. For the brickwork light side of that little barn. Nice colour, that Venetian red. Now, I want, and this is the thing about these as well, the various ways of using them. And I'm going to use a little bit of Prussian blue here on the roof. Just colour it in. Last time I was using watercolour pencils, and I said about the noise of the pencil on the paper. And it is a little bit annoying, but it's just a pencil on the paper. And someone got in touch and said, oh, that noise, oh my word, I can't watch. Well, simple then. Switch it off, don't watch. Nobody's begging you. A little bit of the Venetian red on top of that blue now, look. Because I know what's going to happen when I put the water on. And basically what I'm doing is just like mixing on the paper. I'm mixing the colours on the paper by putting one on top of the other. And when they merge, it will make a nice colour. He said, hopefully. I'm going to do the same on that one as well. Bit of Venetian red first. There. Now, a little bit of the Prussian blue. And I'm using Prussian blue because that's the blue I'm going to use in the sky in a minute. And we'll have Prussian blue in there. And now the Venetian red stronger, pressing on harder. There. Now for the distance, again, the gold ochre, I'm going to have a little bit of that here, pressing on slightly harder than I did on the front of the building. And a little bit over there. Now, a little bit of the brown again. Just a few touches there. A little bit down there. Now again, the Prussian blue over here. A bit there, a little bit there, and over there. Don't want this too dark, because remember this is distance. And the stronger you make the colour in the distance, the further forward it's going to come. And I don't want that. Now, a little bit of Lovely colour, this one. Apple green, it's called. There's several greens in these tins that I use. And this is a tin of 24 that I've got. A lot of the colours I don't use very often, but I've got them for when I do want them. I'll do for that. There. Now, for the big trees behind. Little bits of detail and stuff I shall do after I've finished wetting it, like the windows and things. Again, it's the yellow, gold ochre, a little bit of that there. And it's now reached the stage where it's going to look a bit scratty and messy. But just paint through that kind of stage. And think ahead what's going to happen when you put the water on. And if you've never used these before, they are just such brilliant fun. Now I'm going to have a different yellow here. This one, lemon yellow. A little bit of that there. And I'm pressing on fairly hard, fairly strong there. Like I said, if you want the colour to be stronger, press on harder. If you want a light colour, don't press on very hard. Now, a little bit of, there's several greens going on in this lot. A bit of the apple green there. Pressing on harder than I did over there in the distance. So that's a lighter green, the apple green. It's lovely actually. Really nice colour. I'm not putting any in there. But we'll have some actually. We'll have some here. Just to the left hand side there, look. Carefully around the chimney. And some of that here as well. Scrubbing it on. Now, a little bit of, which one's this one? Sap green. Stronger look. Again, carefully around that chimney. Carefully around the chimney there. And that's sap green. It's a lovely, in these it's a nice strong colour. As you know, mostly with the watercolour, just ordinary watercolours and in acrylics, I just use Hooker's green and I mix that with everything for all the different greens. But there's so many different greens in these watercolour pencils. It's a shame not to use them because they are lovely, some of them. Do that. Now on here as well. And a little bit down here. And nice and strong there in the side of the building there, look. And this here. What a mess! A scribbly mess. It'll be right. Now, actually, oh, I forgot that bit there. Nice and strong there, look. Really strong there. I'm pushing on hard now. A few bits on that. Leaving the yellow showing as well in between, look. See, each colour I've left, each colour I've put on, I've left showing here and there as well, but taking the next colour into it slightly. and that will happen even more once the water goes on. Carefully around that barn there, and filling in that gap between the two. Now, very importantly, some blue, the Prussian blue. And that needs to go in fairly strong. There, look. Where the tree meets the building. Get that nice and dark and strong there, look. Down here, just random bits of blue where I want some depth. There again, where the tree meets the building. There. Now this is a really strong dark green, and this is called night green. There. I mean, look at the swatch on the end, you can tell how dark that's going to be, but it has got a green to it, a green tinge to it. It's a bluey green, very dark. And that there. Last some of that there as well, there, for that bushy bit. And just on top of that, I'm going to have a little bit of lemon yellow there as well, there. These things are so brilliant for if you're going out and about painting, or if you're going on holiday, and obviously you don't want to take all your kit. Take it in of watercolour pencils, a couple of sheets or a small pad of watercolour paper, you've got everything you need. And we'll have a little bit of the gold ochre there. Just coming in from the side there. And a little bit of the sap green. Just the two colours on that. Now, just with the Van Dyke brown, I'm going to fill in this hedge at the front. Put it in there. You notice I haven't gone all the way up to the top. There's a reason for that. I'll think of it in a minute. Golly gosh. There, bit there. And all the way across there. Now, the reason why I didn't fill in the top, I'm going to have a little bit of the apple green just on the top there, look, and taking it into the brown slightly. It's just like a kid's colouring book, is this? Just colouring in my drawing. All the way across there. And next, after this, it's time for the water. The good bit. Right, I've got rid of the photograph now because I don't want that to take up any space on my board. And I don't need it anymore. I've got all the colours I need on there. You can refer to the photograph anytime you want, but at the moment it's about the water. And I've got Prussian blue again. Now, I've done a lot of scribbly lines on there, which are going to disappear when I put the water on. If, however, you start and put squiggly lines and start filling in the sky with the pencil, you're going to end up with a load of pencil lines, even after you've wet it. So don't do that. I've gone to my 3/4 inch brush, and all I'm doing, look, is taking paint off of the pencil. There's my Prussian blue. Just take the paint off the pencil and paint it on. Look at that. And again, back in, take some more paint off. And again. Now, a little bit more water on there. And move that paint around. Look, there. How easy it is to do the sky with these. And again, move that around. Three-quarter inch brush, so easy to do because you can go around things with the sharp edge of the brush, like I'm doing here. Bit more paint. And down there. And now that pencil that I've just soaked with my wet brush, it is just a matter of, now I have a corner or two there. Sorry, I'm changing the subject here. But that pencil that I've just made a mess of, if I just wipe that out, and now it's back to normal, ready for drawing with it. See? No problem. You're not going to hurt them. I'll just let that dry for a second or two. It's not dry, but it's drier than when I put it on. So now look, I'm going to my round brush. I'm just dabbing on there. Starting merge colours, look. Taking the blue into the apple green. Just dabbing on. Same across there. This is distance. Like I said, don't fiddle about with the distance. The more you fiddle with it, the stronger you make it in colour, the further forward you're going to bring it. Now, still with the round brush, just wet that field in front of those distant trees. And again over there. Simples. Now, remember I told you about mixing colour on the roof? There. Once I put water on, now they will truly mix. There, you see what a nice colour that gives me for the roof. Very, very easy. And the other thing about them, if you don't want to take all your painting kit, but you're just going to take your watercolour pencils on holiday with you, you don't even need to take any water. Because once you've done the drawing, you know, you're left it at that stage, you can come back a month later and wet it and you'll get the same result. So go out, do your drawing on location. Sorry, do your drawing on plein air, and then when you come back home from your holidays, just wet them. There. Clean brush and soften that colour there for the front of the building, like so. Carefully around my windows. And now on the darker side of the building. And towards the end of the painting, we're going to have a lot of shadow on this building as well, which adds more depth and brings the whole thing to life. So that's just the dark side of the building at the minute, but there'll be shadow on it as well. Bit there. Bit there. Now into the trees behind the building. just wetting, tapping on, leaving the light side, but then bringing some of the darker stuff into the light side as well. See, now wet that really dark colour there, bring that up a little bit. Move the colour around while it's still wet. Bit that, and across there. Tapping, move paint around. While it's still wet, it's just like any other watercolour. You can play with it and move it around a little bit. Now over to these. But I'm always being careful when I come up to the roof of the building. Merging colours together. And a little bit down there. Wash the brush out a bit. And again, into the dark stuff. And as I wet the dark stuff, bring it up into the other colours slightly. But you can see, or you can imagine, how much fun this is when you actually start putting the water on and everything starts to merge. And it all gets very jolly with itself. It's lovely. And lots of people say to me, well, I can't paint because I can't draw a straight line. There's not really many straight lines in this painting. Just don't worry about it, put colour on. Like that. And across to the bushy bit there. Big bushy bit. Now to the other little buildings here. And that's that Venetian red. What a lovely warm colour that is. And that darker side there. And up to there, the lighter side. And there'll be shadow on these as well at the end. These bushy bits. And there are bits as well, if you wanted, you could leave without putting water on, and they will stand proud a little bit more, will stand out a little bit more, just because it's still the colour, not diluted. But already you can see how that smaller bush comes further forward from that behind it, but that's because of the blue as well. And I'm going to the dark here first, wetting that down in between the buildings to fill that gap in. And then bring some of that up into the lighter stuff. There. Now for the hedge. Actually no, I'll do that one first. Bit of bushy stuff there. So many technical terms going on here. Bushy bits all over the place. Now into the hedge, and I'm wetting the brown, the Van Dyke brown, and then up into the apple green on the top. This place is just off the A1. It looks like it's really rural. I suppose it is, but it's just off the A1, next to a services where I stayed, where I stopped for a coffee. On my way down to Essex. There. Easy peasy. I'm just laying all that dry. In the meantime, I'll do the little bit of detail that's on the building, i.e. the windows, and all I need for those, look. We'll have a bit of Prussian blue there, and a bit there. Well, 4 bits there. 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm leaving a bit of white paper showing between each one. Don't paint window frames. Paint window panes and leave a little bit of white between them. Door. What colour shall I have for the door, Gail?
Oh, I think it's got to be red.
Red. Are you sure about this?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wouldn't dare argue.
Bit of constable.
This is dark carmine, that colour's called. Which is yeah, it's a nice red. I think they think of people that employ people to sit in offices and think up silly names. But dark carmine, there we go. Actually, that red's quite nice. Oh. Yeah, I'm pleased I thought of that colour. But now, what I've got, I want some shadow in all of these buildings. Again, if you remember, for the roof and in the bushes and the trees, I mixed colour on the paper. Now I'm mixing colour on the brush. Remember how I took the sky wash out? I put the sky wash on, sorry, and then took the clouds out. This time, I'm going to make my shadow colour on the brush. And what I'm doing, I'm getting my cobalt blue, like so. Then getting the carmine red, like so. Have a piece of paper on the side to test it on. There. Made of purple, you see. So you can mix on the paper, you can layer colours one on top of the other, and you can mix on the brush. A bit more red. That'll do. And what I'm going to start with, a bit of colour in the top of that window, and then down the left hand side, because the light is coming from the left there. If the light were coming from the right, I'd put it down the right hand side. A bit there, and down there. In the doorway. Down there. Going over the base of the window there. Just clean that off. There. Now, still with that same mix, just strengthen the mix a bit more. A bit more red. And where the roof meets the building, I want a nice dark hard line there, look, underneath. And that makes that roof sit down on the building. Now with that same mix, darken that side a bit more. But you're still seeing the brown showing through. Bit more chimneys there. Still with the same mix. That chimney is going to cast a shadow there on the roof. And again into these buildings here. Nice dark hard line where the roof meets the building. Bit more on that. That's better. Strengthen that a bit more as well. Easy peasy. We'll have a little bit of that down here as well. Still that same shadow mix. Now, just with a clean out brush, I'm going to soften. Just tap on that. Now, that bush there is going to cast a shadow on that building. So again, get my mix, blue and red. Red there. And just tap on like so. Look. There. See? And all I'm doing now is just clean off my brushes, and that's another reason for wearing a smock. And there, not my brushes, my pencils. They're ready for drawing with again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a little bit of, what shall I use? We'll have a bit of Venetian red actually, there. Just in the path there, sorry, the path next to the grass, there. Good Lord, it's the path. Path.
Path.
Now, I'm going to have a little bit of the gold ochre again. Where is it gone? There it is. And a little bit of apple green. There. Do it nicely. While I'm doing it, stroke in here. A little bit here. That's enough of the yellow. Now straight in with the apple green there. Not pressing on too hard there. Now as I'm coming further forward, a little bit more pressure, so I'm pressing on harder here. Likewise here. Not too hard there. Pressing on harder as I come further forward. There. Now back in with the brush, and it's my 3/4 inch brush all the way through here. Starting off at the top, plenty of water on that brush. Then it picks up more green as I come further forward. Likewise here. There. Clean out the brush again and just gently moisten the path. Now, I want a couple of little bits of shadow in amongst there. So what I'm going to do, a bit of the cobalt blue, sorry, the Prussian blue again. Dale, someone's stolen my Prussian blue.
One of the dogs.
Have you had it?
No, it's Frank.
Oh, it's Frank. Okay. I don't tell you, it's Frank. A little bit there, look. Prussian blue, that. And again, what I'm doing this time is I'm mixing on the paper. And a little bit of the red again. A little bit there. And again, wet brush. Tap on with the sharp of the brush, something like that. Now once I've wet it, I can cast a little bit of shadow into the path by just dragging that across, look. And I quite like that colour, so while I put it on the brush, I'll put a few Tap on there. And on there. Pick a bit more of there. And there we go. A very simple little painting. Hope you enjoyed that. Not too difficult. This is the tin of pencils that I'm using. As you can see, they're beaten and battered, but they've been on the go for probably 3 years now. This is a tin of 24 that I've got, and that's, you saw these, this is them in their pristine state. Dale Rowney, but they're Lyra pencils, and it's all part of the same group, Dale Rowney. And for the books, I mean, these are not specifically anything to do with watercolour pencils, but they touch on everything watercolour in here. And you've got the Charles Evans Pocket Book, which is a really bestseller. It sells all over the world, this little book. And it's full of tips and techniques with watercolours. And if it goes wrong, this is the Charles Evans Watercolour Rescue. And it shows you how to put your wrongs right in a watercolour painting. Because watercolours have got this reputation of being the most difficult medium, and if you make a mistake you can't put it right. It's a load of tosh. You can rectify it most of the time, and that will show you how to do it. The paper I've just used for this painting is the Langton Rough, like I said earlier. Fabulous paper, £140 weight, and I never pre-stretch or mess about with it. We sell it in 2 sizes. You don't need to pre-stretch, and the paper is internally sized, so there's no wrong side to paint on either. So it's a really easy paper to use, and it's a paper that you can abuse, like I abuse all my art materials. And the brushes I used here, again, just like forever, that I've always used the Aquafine brushes. The only one I didn't use was my really big one, the 1.5 inch flat wash brush, which I haven't even got in my bucket because I knew I wasn't going to use it today. I've got a 3/4 inch flat, number 8 round, and a number 4 rigger. And I didn't use my rigger today either, did I? Yeah. You see, Gail told me that I didn't, so I can't have. But the Aquafine brushes, good sturdy brushes. I use them for my watercolours, for my watercolour pencils, and I use them for acrylics as well. You can use the same brushes. Fabulous brushes. Everything that I use we sell on the website, charlesevans.com, and it's all a lot cheaper than in the shops, to be honest. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.